This is Random Randy Savage from Code 45 Podcast, and you're listening to the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network.
Broadcasting very fast and very dangerous from the planet Malastare. You are listening to So Wizard.
You're thinking, you people gonna die?
The only podcast to make the Kessel run in under 12 parsecs.
There'll be no one to stop us this time.
What's going on, everybody? It is time for episode number 255 of the So Wizard podcast. I'm your host, Joey DiCarlo. This week, my co-hosts, the expert, Mr. Marquis Marcellus Reagans.
This is for Tupac. What's going on, everybody?
Sorry, you broke my radio voice. And since we're going to be reviewing a horror movie this week, we decided to give Aubrey the week off, requiring us to get a special guest co-host this week, coming to us straight from the future in Australia, the land down under. From the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews podcast, it's Paul.
I'm your friend to the end. Hey, thanks so much for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Long-time listener, first-time guest. Couldn't be more thrilled to be here to discuss such a controversial horror film.
We are super pumped to have you here. But you, the listener, are listening to So Wizard Podcast, where three friends discuss the world of nerd, podcasting weekly on the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. This week, we've got Paul with us to talk some nerdy news. Then we've got a review of Child's Play 2019. But before we get into all that, Paul, it's great to have you here on the show. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and where the people can find it.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. The Countdown is basically myself and my best friend Wayne. We effectively count down a topic from 10 to 1, movie or TV related every week, and effectively use that as an opportunity to shit on the other person's list, trying to make ourselves seem better by comparison. And then, give or take once a month or so, we invite some great guests on, as you guys were last year, and we're looking forward to having you back on. And we compete versus the other podcast to see who can have the superior top 10 of whatever topic it is. It's a lot of fun. It's not safe for work. We are way more crude than you very scholarly gentlemen are. So if you at all have small children around or are of a nervous disposition and don't like dicks, I would suggest you don't bother.
Well, I am super pumped you're on the show. I love your podcast.
Thanks, man. Clearly liking the dicks. Great.
Exactly. Love it. Love the dicks. I legitimately listen every single week, twice a week.
Thank you.
You guys have 2 episodes every week.
Split it up.
I fucking love it. It's one of my favorites. So
thanks so much. Really, and you guys have so much love. I really truly do appreciate it every week, or the weeks you mention this. It's great.
And I've got Mark listening now, so that's all that really matters, right, Mark?
That's right. I absolutely agree with Joy. I love your show. I think it's awesome. The soundboard is probably, no offense to you or Wayne, the soundboard is my favorite person on that show.
What do you mean, no offense? That is the best part of the show, and I'm glad that you recognize it, Mark Ellis. And if more people got on board, then we could just spin off the soundboard having its own show reviewing movies every week. It'd be great. That's
way in the future. The Countdown podcast starring just the soundboard.
You can count down the top 10 sounds from each movie.
I would listen to that totally. Wayne, maybe not so much.
No, he'll be out the first episode.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you here. Mark, how are you this week?
I'm good. I'm a little bit tired this week. Just trying to work a lot, trying to be like you, Joey, trying to put in as many hours in work as I can. I didn't go to the movies at all last week. There wasn't anything that was really drawing me in. So I was very psyched to get back into the theaters this week. And then we will talk about my experience afterwards with the movie that was playing.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I literally have been doing nothing except working and sleeping. Knock on wood. I am going out for a promotion at work.
Good luck, sir.
We'll find out next week on the podcast whether I got it or not. But that requires a lot of extra effort. So I have to work my regular, 40-something hours lifting boxes overnight. And then I have to work at my other job. And now I have to put in some extra effort getting things ready for this promotion interview, such as developing a 30, 60, 90-day action plan and other exciting
God.
things. Yeah, it's a panel interview with. It's just crazy. So it's not fun to try to sneak in sleep. And I feel you, Mark, because I really want to go see The Dead Don't Die, but
Yeah.
the only place playing it near us, is it even playing at all near you, Paul?
Yeah, I think it was slated for August, and then they've moved it to undated, so I don't hold out high hopes.
Yikes. Yeah, it's only playing one theater in all of Western Massachusetts, and it's art theater. They have 2 shows a day, 4 p.m., 9 p.m. That doesn't really work for me, so I don't know when I'm going to get to see that. So hopefully,
Yeah, it's almost guaranteed it's going to come to some streaming service in the States, which, we VPN and then get access to it here. So before
I was
it comes
going to
out,
say,
it's
Amazon Fire Stick, here we come. Excellent. But enough about us. Marcellus, why don't we talk some more about us? And you tell the listeners where you can find more So Wizard Podcast.
Everybody can go to SoWizardPodcast.com, where you will find new episodes every week. You'll find some movie reviews from yours truly. You'll find some Netflix and Amazon streaming picks from our buddy, the awesome Adam Wallyhawk. You'll also find our merchandise there, so you can purchase some of our So Wizard Podcast t-shirts. Look good while you're representing the show. Another great way to support our show is by doing your Amazon shopping through the link that we keep right on the website. You click on the Amazon logo. You do your shopping, receive your products, and that way you'll be helping out our little podcast here. You can also find our social media links there. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, so you can get at us through social media. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review while you're there. You can also find us on the Stitcher Radio app for your tablet or smartphone, Podbean, Google Play Music. Stream our show through Spotify. We also have a Patreon page where you can support our show. Small monetary donation will get you bonus content from So Wizard. We also have a YouTube page where you can subscribe to our So Wizard Podcast YouTube account, and follow Adam Wallyhawk as he goes through Steven Spielberg movies along with other awesome videos. Shout out to all of our friends making podcasts all over the world, including down in Australia. Back to you, Joey.
If I see a dick, I just look away.
Excellent. I think that's good advice. So just look away, Mark. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about the news in the world of nerd.
Yo, pump it up. It's time for the news. Yo, we getting ready to bring you the news, boy.
All right, so this week in nerdy news, we have an announcement from Marvel Comics. We don't really get to talk about comics too much on the show, but there was a nice announcement that came out this week. There was a little bit of a countdown that happened, no pun intended, for a upcoming Spider-Man story, and no one could figure out what it was. Was it a sequel to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man? Did it have something to do with Spider-Man Homecoming or Spider-Man Far From Home? But no, it's actually an upcoming comic book that's going to be written by J.J. Abrams and his son, Henry Abrams. They are getting together to write a 5-issue Spider-Man comic book that's coming out this September. This is a great way to get me into comic books, because I love whenever a Hollywood writer or kind of a Hollywood stunt is put into place to do a comic book. That's how I got into Kevin Smith comic books. Richard Donner did a great Superman run a few years ago. Max Landis did a good Superman story, which I have to, I have to now burn that book because unfortunately it's no good anymore. But JJ hasn't done anything yet. He hasn't been accused of anything, so I'm looking forward to this. JJ wrote one of my favorite scripts of all time, so him writing a Spider-Man story, I'm totally down for. What do you guys think of this Hollywood stunt casting for a Spider-Man comic book? Let's start with our guest, Paul.
I have to be honest, I'm not the comic book guy reading them these days. I love the movies, obviously, and I'll watch them whenever they come out. But yeah, I'm glad. Look, J.J. Abrams is a talent. If he wants to lend his talents to a different medium and maybe promote his son, I guess that's nepotism at its finest. But look, it is what it is, and that's what people are going to do once they get their leg up. They're going to try and help their relatives and their friends. So yeah, I won't read it, but if you're into Spider-Man and you care about J.J. Abrams and the family genealogy, then go for it. That's all I can say.
Nice. All right, Joey, what about you, man?
Whack. It's awful. I was so excited. This countdown's coming up. The countdown, just like Paul. And you should sue, get some of that Marvel money.
Yeah, no one's ever used that term before for any medium whatsoever. We should win that lawsuit.
Well, if this Spider-Man comic had been about dicks, like it would have been all about you to sue them and be like, this is my idea. But I was excited. They get this big countdown going on. People were getting so hyped. They were like, oh, this is going to be Spider-Man 4 script is going to get turned into a comic, blah, 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 blah. They just did William Gibson's Alien 3 script as a comic. So there is precedent. There is precedent. Okay. I haven't read it. I'm sure it's terrible.
I'm much more into that than I am this, I have to admit. Alien, you had my attention. Now you have my interest.
There we go. But and then it's like J.J. Abrams and his son. And you know J.J. Abrams ain't doing shit. It's just his son is going to be writing it. So like,
if there's not one lens flare in those panels, you know it's bullshit.
That's what I can't wait for. Just a lot of lens flares and a lot of unanswered questions. And that's it. You got a J.J. Abrams story right there.
Oh, God. Yeah. It can't end worse than Lost. So, yeah, I'm not excited at all. This will go for, 5 or 6 issues, and we'll never hear from it again. So it would be cool if his son was like a really good writer and maybe turn that to a career writing comics, but I highly doubt it. So it's very hard for me to get excited about it.
Mm-hmm. I understand. I'm a huge JJ fan. Like I said, I always thought he was an amazing writer. So I think this is a good way to, not that Spider-Man needs any help, getting fans, but I think it's a good way to draw people in, people who would normally pick up a 5-issue comic book series. Putting his name on it it's a good draw. The guy's kind of popular in the film industry. So speaking of Marvel and movies, it looks like the Avengers has not made enough money yet to kick James Cameron's ass. So Marvel has decided, you know what? We're going to bring it back. We're going to bring it back to the theaters. We're going to add some bonus content because 3 hours just isn't enough. We need some more. It's kind of unprecedented. They're going to be doing it next week before it has a chance to take away from the upcoming Spider-Man movie. It's going to be hitting theaters in about 2 weeks. But my question is, are you guys willing to go back into the theaters to sit through Avengers Endgame for this bonus content and help raise the box office so it can finally dethrone Avatar? Let's start with you, Joey.
No. Not because I don't want to see it, because I do, but I just, like, life-wise, I don't have time. I just don't have time. I don't know. There's some guy that saw Endgame like 116 times. Like,
yeah.
Oh,
what?
Yeah. This guy, like, it's his favorite movie or something. He wants to help it beat Avatar, so he's seen it 116 times in the theater. I just don't have time. Holy
shit!
Imagine having that kind of free time, Paul. Like what you could do with yourself or the podcast.
Imagine being that sad.
Hey, we all
that is my focus.
We all have our battles to fight. His is dethroning Avatar. You can't be mad at him for that.
You can get a really good escort for that kind of money. Never mind. But I wanted to see Avatar. Sorry, I wanted to see Endgame more than once in the movie theater. I saw Infinity War like 3 times in the theater.
Yeah, and
I was planning on going to see this multiple times, and it's just like I think we went to the movies like 5 weeks in a row for the podcast, and like it just never happened. And now it's definitely not going to happen for like a blooper reel or whatever that we're throwing after the hit credits.
Post credits scene. Wow. Woo.
It would have to be something absolutely phenomenal for me to like get off my butt and not sleep in that morning and go see it. Yeah. And it'll just get video taped on somebody's phone and posted on YouTube.
Exactly.
So
you're gonna, Joe. You're probably gonna see it before any of us paying people actually go and see it. So you'll probably be able to tell us all about it.
Yeah, I visit some very strange places on the internet, so I'll let you know all about it.
There you go. All right. So Paul, what about you, man? Is this bonus content enough to get you back in the theaters for Avengers?
Absolutely not. I understand why they're doing it. There's a part of me that gets it. Like, Avatar had at least 1 re-release, if not 2. So it's fair enough that the Avengers double dip and have another dash it as well, because I think they're only about, 100 million behind? Is that right?
No, yeah, less than that, actually.
30 or 40 million at this point?
Well, in that case, what's it take? Like 6 or 7 dudes who see it 116 times and it wins. So don't give up the dream is all I would say to Marvel. And yeah, I think it deserves to beat out Avatar, which I don't think everyone's going to look back on Avengers Endgame in 10 years and think, oh God, what were we thinking, as they do with Avatar. So yeah, I'm all for it. Give it a bash, but not me personally. I've got 96 films I need to watch to win this movie watching challenge to get to 500 first, and
Jesus.
One of them won't be Avengers Endgame plus post-credit sequence.
I already have my ticket, so I'm ready.
I was gonna say, Mark, cue up the Milli Vanilli. I don't think it's beating Avatar.
Hey, all I need to do is see it, 115 times, and I think there's a chance. I think it might happen. Avengers it's still in the theaters technically. So, if people out there, if you actually are going to go see Avengers again to, get that bonus content, make sure you let them know at the box office that you want to see the new one, not the one that's been there for the past, few months or so. Because technically it's not a re-release. It's still in the theaters.
That would be annoying as fuck. Imagine sitting through 3 hours and getting to the end of the credits and here it is. What? What? Come on.
What? No.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna go see it again. I definitely want to see what the bonus footage is before Joey spoils it for me. And I definitely want to support Marvel because they've given me 11 years of film enjoyment. This is the least that I can do for them.
I will say,
you therefore go and see Avatar when they re-release it before Avatar 2 finally drops?
Probably not. I still have.
Good.
I will go see it again. I will. I'll tell you why. Because I have it on Blu-ray strictly for the behind the scenes stuff, which is phenomenal. I could watch James Cameron talk about making movies for like 6 hours. It's fine with me. Neither of my kids have seen it, and let's all be honest with each other. If you try to sit down and watch Avatar on TV, just flat, like sit down and watch it, it's not enjoyable. So if they re-released it in 3D and you could get the actual experience of an enjoyable time watching Avatar, then I'd have to bring them to see it so that we can then watch 2, 3, 4, 5 and get them hyped.
So
fair enough.
Yeah, because their kids are going to want to go see Avatar 8 when that one comes out. So
that's right.
Get them prepped now. Get them ready now.
I'm looking forward to the Fast and the Furious crossover with Avatar 47 sometime as I'm about to die. That'd be great.
Oh my God, I can't wait for that.
You'll be laying on your deathbed and the light will appear above you. Think, shit, if only I hadn't wasted all that time seeing Avengers Endgame 116 times. I'd have time to make it to see Too Fast 2 Avatar. Exactly. I will say, though, if the extra footage is Captain America dropping the Soul Stone back off to the Red Skull and having a very awkward conversation, I would go see the movie again.
There you go.
What else could it be? It could be.
I'm pretty sure it's just going to be all of them sitting around eating shawarma at Tony's funeral. Just like a big table of just like everyone dressed in black, just munching on shawarma.
Like all of them.
All of them, exactly.
Everyone that was in that Avengers Assemble scene. It's going to be a very long table.
Nick Fury's going to look at the kid from Iron Man 3 and be like, who is this motherfucker?
Yes, that I would pay for. If that is the post-credit scene, I will go back and see the entire film just for, what the fuck is this kid? Get the fuck out of here. That's the only difference.
All right, Marvel, you got your challenge. Let's see it.
That's it.
Impress us.
You get my $15. That's $15 closer when we're only 40 million away. That means something.
Is it really $15 to go to the movies in Australia?
Depending where you go. Okay, so the most expensive cinemas here are like $24. Yeah, Australian dollars. So it's probably a little more like $7 American.
Okay.
No, it's not quite that bad. Not quite that bad. Like it'll be 15 American. 15, 16 American.
Yeah, that's about normal for here, around here.
Yeah, for like XD, like expensive screens.
Yeah, XD, 3D. Yeah, it's about $15.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so we had a couple of trailers drop this week. Let's start with a little teaser trailer of I want to say big budget, but I don't think that quite covers it.
I just had a look. 60 million.
Ooh, Jesus. That's like the catering of Avengers. So We're talking about based on the popular video game Mila Jovovich in Monster Hunter. This movie actually isn't coming out until September of 2020, but somehow the teaser trailer leaked online, and we got our first look at the we got to look at some of the images before, but now we got to take a look at some of it in action from the director of the Resident Evil series. What did you guys think of Monster trailer? Do you think we're finally going to get a good video game to movie adaptation? Let's start with our guest, Paul.
No. It is 5 reaction shots from various characters, and my instant reaction was, Mila Jovovich is in another one of these films? And then Mark Ellis informed me, yeah, because it's directed by her husband, Paul W.S. Anderson. And then I saw a $60 million tag, and I'm like, this is going to be worse than the worst maybe not the worst Resident Evil. Let's say middle tier Resident Evil. It's going to be garbage. Everyone's going to hate on it. It's the next in the endless iteration of terrible video game adaptations.
Mm-hmm. Joey, what about you, dude?
Oh, I'm so torn on this, Mark.
Yeah.
It's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be fun terrible either, because I don't really like the Resident Evil movies. I don't think they're like so bad it's good like The Room. They're just bad and boring. Mm-hmm. But Mila Jovovich is hot, and I really love Tony Jaa, and I want him to make money. He deserves it, all right? He deserves it. So I will go see this illegally online. But I don't know if I would pay money to see it, because it's going to be terrible. We all know what's happening here. We all just look at the screen. Look how bad it looks. This is going to make like $2 in the rest of the world and like $700 million in China.
And then we'll get Monster Hunter 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hurrah.
I was going to say, now I hope you're ready for the Monster Hunter franchise. Monster Hunter, the final chapter.
Well, there's an unwritten rule in Hollywood. If you're making an adaptation of a video game, you hire Paul W.S. Anderson and Mila Jovovich. You just hired him to do it. Keep in mind, besides the Resident Evil movies, he also did the first Mortal Kombat movie.
Which I love.
Yep. And some movie that everyone keeps telling me to watch called Event Horizon.
Which I also
love. That film was great.
So, see, even if you give a monkey a typewriter, eventually he will type out a good novel. So,
except I think they were his first 2 films, and it's all been downhill from there.
Right, but that's very scary to getting a free pass for life. He's got 2 of 3 good movies, and he sucks. Well, he did have 3 Musketeers, so that erases one of those movies, doesn't it?
I've never even come close to watching that movie. Just looking at the trailer, I'm like, nope. I'm out.
Yeah.
Paul,
well
you
played,
never
Mark
saw
Ellis.
that, did you?
Well played. I did. It's garbage. Complete and utter garbage. It makes me... It offends me to even think about it. Let's move on.
I just remember the trailer was playing in front of every movie for like 2.5 years at one point.
It's got that awful Bryan Adams and... What's his name? Rod Stewart song and someone else in there as well.
Oh, Christ. That's right.
Awful
It was Sting.
one.
Sting.
Yeah, Sting. Sting's the other one.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, God. Ugh. I was just thinking about Rod Stewart's leathery face and his awful, like, yellowy hair. Oh, my God.
If you want to ruin your day and don't want to spend 2 hours on The Three Musketeers, just listen to that. Watch that film clip. It's brilliant.
Jesus.
Okay, so then the next trailer that did drop this week is... this one is a little unusual. This one kind of came out of nowhere. It's called Ready or Not. And it looks like a horror movie / comedy done in a style of like say like the old Clue movie. It's about a girl who wants to get married, marry into this family. It's kind of rich, aristocratical family. But at midnight, they have to play a game of hide and seek. And that game itself turns out to be a little deadly. She realizes that the family members are out to kill her, and now she has to survive. The trailer looked amazing. It has like a really nice balance of comedy and horror, and it definitely is people that I didn't recognize except for the kid from the OC, Adam Brody, and everyone else. I had no idea who they were, no idea who the director is, but the trailer looked interesting. What did you guys think of Ready or Not, Joey?
I thought it looked pretty cool. Cool enough to like go see. I wasn't like running to buy my tickets immediately, but who was the girl in that?
Never heard of her. Some actress. I forgot her name.
It's Samara Weaving. It's Hugo Weaving's niece.
Oh.
So, yeah. So if you look at her face close enough, you'll see a bit of Hugo Weaving in there.
God, I don't think
She'll creep you the fuck out. But she's actually... Did you see that movie last year, at least on Netflix, The Babysitter, directed by McG? She was the lead in that.
Oh, okay. I did not watch that, but I had highly recommended from people. I just couldn't push play because McG was staring at me.
Yeah, I would also recommend it's worth, if you're into that kind of comedy, sort of horror, it's not bad at all, especially for a Netflix film. Yeah, she's pretty attractive young woman, although...
Well, she was until you said that. Now I can see Hugo Weaving like, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, so... Anyway, so that's who she is. So she's a Australian, I guess. Yeah, she's making it up the big leagues now, the bigger leagues from a Fox Searchlight film.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Paul, I would say you were probably more familiar with her work. I mean, other than A Babysitter. What did you think of the trailer?
I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Take my money. I mean, this movie, I only watched the Green Band trailer, and that's good enough for me. As you said, came out of nowhere, not even heard a whisper of this film. And it's a lot like, did you see You're Next a few years back from Adam Wingard? That's very much a sort of family-based, we're all here and now we start killing each other off for whatever nefarious reasons. This one looks a bit more stylized than that and a lot bigger budget. So count me in. I will check this out for sure.
Nice. And Joey, you're going to go see it in the theaters, you think, maybe?
Yeah, I thought the trailer was interesting. Definitely probably the best trailer we saw in front of Child's Play.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw it at the cinema. Nice. Even better.
But, well, there was a trailer for Midsummer, but that's just, like, not my thing, like, at all. I'm going to have to go see it because Janine wants to see it, and she can't get into R-rated movies without an adult. So, oh, boy.
Good dadding. Well done.
I'll just be watching through my fingers the whole time or falling asleep, one or the other. I don't know. But, yeah, it looks cool, dude. I think this might be something to add to the list, Mark. You know?
I think you should. And if you need some help, I'm sure I can come back and give you a hand with it. And by the way, the mum or the auntie maybe in it is Andie MacDowell.
Yeah, like her.
Well, she
Long
still
time
exists.
no see. Yeah, I know. It kind of blew my mind. And the dad in it is the guy from Mission Impossible, the first one.
That's right. Tom Cruise almost kills him.
Cerny.
He almost kills him with the fish tank, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, ready or not, it's a thumbs up from everybody. At least a trailer. That one is coming out August. Oh, wow. It's soon, like in a couple of months. So
Nice.
We'll be talking about that soon. All right. So then on the horror movie tip, we have a couple of announcements that just came out of actually Blumhouse. They're both from Blumhouse. The first one is they have announced the next Paranormal Activity. This will be the 7th one in the franchise. They got to keep up with those Fast and the Furious movies. I saw the first 3 and I really enjoyed the third one. I thought it was good and I pretty much checked out after that. Didn't see Ghost Dimension or the 4th one or any of the spinoffs, none of that. So I have no idea like what they're going to do with Paranormal Activity 7. I'll see the trailer. If it seems like an interesting enough concept, I'll check it out. But I'm not sure who really wants this. What do you guys think of a Paranormal Activity 7? Let's go back to you, Joey.
Is the chick from the first one with the nice rack still in it?
Probably not. I think she bounced out like around the 3rd one.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. I saw the first one. And I liked it, and that's all I saw. I didn't see any of the rest. I don't know anything about the Paranormal Activity expanded universe. Because there was another one where they were like Spanish kids, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
the marked ones.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, the Marcellus ones. That would be Paranormal Blacktivity.
You got to put it Paranormal Activities with a Z.
Activities. Oh God! Someday, Mark, we have to watch Vampires for this show. We have to.
That's a must.
It's one of the worst movies ever made. I don't know. Okay. When is this coming out?
They just announced it, so it'll probably be out tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd say next month.
The budgets on these movies are not that big. They could probably film it in a week.
Let's say there's a couple of people running around with a camcorder. How hard is that to make?
So Yeah, the profit for the first one, actually, even the last one made a decent amount of money. So, they are profitable. I can understand them making another one. Paul, are you familiar with the Paranormal Activity franchise? And is this something you might be excited for?
The Paranormal Activity franchise is like an exercise in increasing self-flagellation. The first one is pretty good.
Yeah.
The second one is pretty garbage. The third one was the diamond in the rough that I didn't expect. And after that, they are all, including the marked ones, awful, increasingly so. The last one is an abomination, and I cannot believe that there is somewhere to go with this series that they think people want to see more of it. I honestly believe the only reason the last one made some profit was because people just wanted to round it out. Like, I've spent enough of my time watching these fucking characters on these monitors. I'll just go one more time round. All right, fine. But surely if we start again or bounce to some alternate timeline or whatever, people are just going to be like, come on, Blumhouse, enough's enough already. Please end our pain. Don't do this to us anymore.
It'll never end. They still have fucking Blair Witch stuff coming out.
What? Another one?
There's a video game coming out. It was announced at E3 last week.
God.
At the end of the trailer, like, it's this guy running around the woods, horror game. You have a camcorder, blah, blah, blah. And then the camera pans back and the Blair Witch, like, stick thing is in the woods. And my son's like, Blair Witch? That's stupid.
Yeah, I'm with your son.
Oh, no. It's supposed to be scary.
Yeah, please let it die. In fact, I wish Blumhouse would just focus on things like, I'm drawing a blank, the sci-fi little thriller they did last year, which was pretty damn good, directed by Lee Winnell.
Upgrade.
Upgrade, thank you. Yes, that's the one. That's the kind of thing I wish they would sort of stick their $5 and $6 million budgets into, rather than just these ridiculously shit teen horror films that just recycle the same bland jump scares over and over and are just awful.
They make money off them, though.
I know. This is what does my head in.
Blumhouse got to eat.
Blumhouse got to send his kids to college.
That's right. Wish Upon Wish Upon 2 is coming.
Oh, Wish Upon, fucking hell, that film.
Trying to get Mark and Aubrey to watch that. So.
That's an I Hate You Now watch. Don't agree to it unless it's an I Hate You Now watch, Mark Ellis.
Oh, all right. No, that sounds like definitely good advice, because I had no intention of watching that at all. None.
Surprise!
Sorry, Joe, I just ruined it for you.
That's okay.
All right, so speaking of Blumhouse Gotta Eat, the other movie that was announced this week is Halloween 2. Again, the third movie called Halloween 2 is coming out in 2020. It seems like the director is coming back. Jamie Lee Curtis is coming back. The first one, I kind of understand what they were trying to do, but I don't think it worked. I don't think they succeeded in what they were aiming for. But that movie made a shit ton of money on a super low budget. So we're definitely going to get another one. I don't know. I have no idea what to think of this. Paul, were you a fan of the last Halloween movie that came out, and does it make you excited for the next one?
Yeah, for just the last 5 minutes I spent shitting on Blumhouse, I have to say, this Halloween direct sequel to the first one. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty damn good. It's exactly the kind of slasher film that I wanted to see. And of course, the moment that all the buzz was so high, we were going to get another one, so they couldn't quite commit to killing off Michael Myers at the end of the last one.
Yep.
I'm glad to hear Jamie Lee Curtis is back, and if we get Kenny Powers himself back to write the script, because his DNA was all over the first one, then I'm even more down for it.
Well, Paul, I'm afraid I got some bad news for you.
Well, I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
The script's already written, and Danny McBride's name is nowhere to be found, except for as an executive producer.
All right, he'll get paid still. That's, I guess, good for him. But all right, well, slightly less enthused than I was 30 seconds ago.
Sorry to do that to you. Joey, what about you? Seeing how this is the movie that pretty much broke Aubrey and gave us the opportunity to have Paul in the show, is a sequel something that you would be excited for?
What the fuck? I love Halloween now. Isn't this technically Halloween 3?
It would be, yeah.
Halloween 2, Halloween 3.
That's exactly how that should name it. Fuck everybody.
Hopefully they'll have some more podcasters in it and we can all be in it.
Oh. Yeah, if we could do without that part, I would like the film even more.
Seriously, where does podcasters pull out like $6,000 in like cash and be like, "Here, we need to interview you"? Like, what the fuck?
Or even better, what microphones do they have where you can stand 15 feet away and just point it at the person and pick up everything they're going to grunt at you perfectly?
Definitely not the microphone I'm using right now. Michael Myers, could you please come 20 feet closer to me? I have a $10 used Xbox 360 microphone that we use for the podcast. He just stops killing people and leaves. He's embarrassed. No, you know what? I like much like Paul. I did like the first, aka second one. I didn't love it, but it was cool. I liked it. There's a lot of cool stuff. I loved that one continuous shot of him walking house to house murdering people.
Yeah.
You know, the shot that caused Aubrey to pass out in the movie theater.
Right.
So, you know what? I'll go see the next one. It's fine with me. You know, I'm excited. See what they can do with it. Hopefully they've got some kind of cool twists. It'd be nice if they somehow incorporated the actual Halloween 3 into it with the masks that the kids wore.
No, Joey, stop it.
Why?
No one acknowledges that's not a Halloween film. It's a aberration that should never have existed, except in its own film. Would have been great in its own horror film. It's got nothing to do with Halloween except being on Halloween.
Yeah, you know,
whatever.
Don't give you a logic here. Okay, sorry.
It would just be nice to see it incorporated somehow. If they could turn it around and make it cool and successful, it would be a nice like fuck you to people that pissed all over it back in the day.
Like me.
Right.
I've never seen it, but Joy, I think that's an amazing idea. If the first movie is called Halloween and the second movie is called Halloween, the third one should be called Halloween Season of the Witch. That makes perfect sense to me.
There you go.
Can't we just call it Halloweens?
Halloween's with a Z. Busta Rhymes comes back.
Busta Rhymes and the Colonial Marines descend on town to find out why communications have been stopped. Yeah.
Yeah, and Snoop Dogg is like Gorman.
Snoop Dogg as himself or as Bones?
I'll take either one.
Is that a deep enough cut for you, Mark?
Oh my God, that takes me back to video store days. Jesus. Why is Snoop Dogg staring at me? Bones. All right. And then, and last bit of news, it was announced this week that we are finally getting, I don't know if it's a sequel or a reboot, but we're getting the next Matrix movie. We did talk about this a little bit before last year, of it being an idea that was out in the ether, but it looks like the steps are moving forward to bring the next chapter or a reboot of the Matrix saga. This one's going to star Michael B. Jordan, my man, and it's going to be directed by the Wachowskis again. Filming takes place in Chicago next year, and that's been announced. So I'll give my thoughts on it afterwards, but let's hear what you guys have to say. Let's start with you, Paul.
Cautiously optimistic. Are we going to get the Wachowskis from 1999, or are we going to get the Wachowskis from 2003? Because there's a big difference between the two. And I'm not talking about changing genders. I'm talking about making good films. The first one is one of my favorite films of all time. Mm-hmm. The last film is the biggest disappointment, other than Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that I've ever sat through in a movie theater. So if we get more of the first one and less of the last one, I'm all for it.
Joey, what about you, man? How do you feel about Matrix coming back with Michael B. Jordan?
Ergo, vis-a-vis, no.
Colonel Sanders, how do you feel about the Matrix coming back?
It's finger looking good. I'm kind of in the same boat as Paul. Like, do I love The Matrix? Yes. Is it one of the best movies ever made? Yes. Is it in my top 20 movies of all time? Yes.
Yes.
Is the sequel terrible? Yes. The Wachowski siblings have not made anything good since 1999. So it's kind of rough, man. It's rough. Like, I love Bound, and not just because, obvious reasons. It's a really good movie. You've seen that, I'm sure, Paul, right?
Oh, yeah. Great film.
Okay. I'll never, ever dislike anything with Jennifer Tilly in it. So
wow.
And, the first Matrix, obviously phenomenal, but, man, their track record is horrendous. I don't want them anywhere near this. Like, give them an executive producer credit and some money and go away. You guys can do press. You can come walk down the red carpet and talk about how you created it, blah, 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 but go away. Find some young, hungry, like action director and give it to them. Like one of the guys obviously the guys from John Wick worked on The Matrix as stunt doubles. Mm-hmm. One of them would be great. You know, the guy that directed The Raid, like anything, anybody.
God damn. Ooh, I just got chills.
Exactly.
That would be awesome.
Anybody except them. They have proven they can't.
I'd even give Neil Marshall another stab after Hellboy.
Yes. I don't know if he'll ever do it now, work with a major studio, but just find some awesome young or hungry genre director and give them the reins and let them roll and go wild. And it would be cool. But God, no, not from the creators of Jupiter Ascending, Sense8,
Speed Racer.
Yeah. Oh, Mark loves Speed Racer.
Oops, sorry, Mark.
Cloud Shatless.
I didn't mind Cloud Shatless.
Fuck all those movies. And then some of the things they executive produced were pretty decent. Like Ninja Assassin was not great, but it was fun. And V for Vendetta has its fans. Mm-hmm. So it's not. I don't really like it that much, but people like it.
I do. So, yep.
There's no way this franchise is going to sit dormant. So it's coming no matter what. There's no way they're not going to leave that money on the table. So, man, I just really don't want it to suck. You know what I mean? Like, don't be terrible.
Yeah, it's gonna suck. There's no doubt about that at all. I definitely feel like I'm definitely gonna go see this movie. I'm not excited for it at all because Jupiter Ascending was fucking awful. But I definitely feel like the Wachowskis are personally making movies just for me. Because I'm a huge Speed Racer fan.
Because you like shitty movies.
It's one of those things where it's like, be careful what you wish for. You know what I mean? It's like, I love Speed Racer, and the Wachowski's like, oh, Marcellus likes Speed Racer, so let's do it. And I'm like, well, thank you, I guess. I've made no bones about that. I love Michael B. Jordan, so they're like, oh, The Matrix is an awesome movie. Marcellus likes that. He likes Michael B. Jordan. He's from Chicago, so we're gonna start filming The Matrix with Michael B. Jordan in Chicago next year. So obviously, I have to go and support this movie. But yeah, Jupiter Ascending is garbage. Cloud Atlas, I probably should rewatch that again because it had like moments of coolness, but I don't think I was quite prepared for it. But yeah, the next Matrix movie is going to be awful, but I'm going to be there day one regardless.
Let me just throw out there that Reloaded, was that the second one was Reloaded, right?
Yeah, Reloaded, then Revolutions.
Yep.
I actually liked Reloaded.
Me too.
The freeway chase is awesome. The chateau fight is awesome. You know, obviously you were starting to see the cracks because they had that stupid rave and like there's some other stuff. But I thought it set up a lot of cool stuff. And then the third one was so shitty, it retroactively went back and made the second one terrible. So
I think you're right.
Yes, I am.
But like Paul W.S. Anderson, there's a chance for them to strike back, bring it back to the good old days. So.
Yeah, it's going to be PG-13, and it's going to suck. It's going to suck really bad.
It's going to have an 18-minute rave scene in this one with more glow sticks.
Oh, God. People really like that kind of music, though, nowadays. So.
Oh, there you go. Skrillex on the soundtrack.
Well, maybe you get Bad Baby on the soundtrack. Bad Baby as Trinity.
God. All right, so that's it. That's all I got for the news.
All right. Fantastic. Great. So that's what's going on in the world of nerd this week. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk all about Child's Play, parentheses, 2019.
Hey, Rhode Island and Connecticut. I'm Chuck Staten from the Chuck and Brad podcast. And before you go see the new movie Spider-Man Far From Home, come see a very special pop culture-based comedy show called Spider-Man Bradley Drawn, featuring Chuck and Brad. The quick description is, comedians Brad Rohr and Chuck Staten present a poorly drawn and badly written retelling of the original Spider-Man movie starring Tobey Maguire. Brad is a terrible artist, and we're going to use his drawings and my new narration of the film based on those drawings to tell the story live on stage. It's going to be an awesome time. We're doing it Thursday, June 27th at the CT Comedy Theater in Hartford, Connecticut with Katie Arroyo, Laura Manasewicz, and BJ Quiggin, and we're doing it Sunday, June 30th at the Comedy Connection with Impractical Jokers tour opener Jiggy, Ray Harrington, and Alan Fitzgerald. That's Spider-Man, Bradley Drawn. Come on out. It's going to be a great time. All info at chuckandbradpodcast.com.
All right, and we're back. So now it's time for us to review Child's Play, the new reboot-quel to the original Chucky series. Paul, and you're super into horror, so you might know more than me. They don't have the rights to some of the Child's Play stuff. Like, they have the rights to the first movie, but not the rest of it. That's what I say. So there's still going to be like Seed of Chucky sequels that are direct to video that have nothing to do with this.
That's right. It is. The guy who created it originally, Don Mancini, he wrote, he was like a undergraduate, I think, at UCLA or something along those lines. And he came up with the idea for Child's Play and somehow got it made in 1988. And he's the one that's gone on and been behind all the sequels all the way up to directing the latest two, which can't remember if it was Seed of Chucky and Cult of Chucky or something along those lines. And he's making another film. It's not titled yet. I don't even know if it's filmed yet, but that's ongoing. And meanwhile, he's also, I'm not sure which network over there for you guys, but he's also overseeing a Child's Play TV series. So there's two different iterations going on. And meanwhile, MGM, I think, had the rights, like you say, to an aspect of Chucky. And so they had to make a film. So they went ahead and made this version of it and kind of approached him and said, do you want to be an executive producer and get your payday? And he was so pissed off, he said, fuck you. So there's this huge, old school fans being dead against this movie because it's violating Don Mancini's vision, and fuck you, corporate America, for attempting to make this film and create another horror film for us. We hate your guts and we will never see it. So there's all this controversy behind the scenes.
Wow. Isn't that kind of like James Bond had something like that too?
Yeah, dude, I was just about to say
back in the day,
yeah. Yeah, it totally reminds me of when there was two James Bond movies out competing against each other. I think the world's big enough for two Chucky movies. I think we can have two simultaneously running Chucky franchises going on back to back, like Volcano and the other one. The other volcano movie that came out that year. And
Dante's Peak.
Yes, thank you. Armageddon and Deep Impact. We can have two of the same at the same time. It's fine. The world's big enough.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, now we've cleared that up. We all had a chance to see Child's Play, the new one. And before we go into spoilers, we'll play a sound drop letting you know that spoilers are coming. So if you haven't seen it and you want to, you won't get spoiled. But let's just kind of go around and get an impression of what you thought of the movie. Paul, you're our guest. You are the man who loves horror movies. What did you think of Child's Play?
I thought it was okay. I think it had some merit to it. They changed things up enough to be interesting. They kind of dropped the ball, I felt like, and didn't go hard enough. It kind of felt like Black Mirror : Child's Play to me.
All right. What about you, Marcellus?
Yeah, I've heard people also compare it to Black Mirror. I've never seen an episode of Black Mirror, so I don't have that frame of reference, but I hated this movie. I legit wanted to get up and walk out of the movie. And it's not to say that the movie is completely horrible. Horror movies are designed for a certain thing, and I've talked about this on the show before. I don't think I'm the person that should be watching horror movies, but I love movies, so I want to give everything a chance. But I don't know, my brain just won't let me accept the ridiculousness of horror movies. I just can't do it. So yeah, about 3/4 of the way through the movie, I'm like, I kind of want to just get up and walk out, and that very rarely happens to me.
Wow, you are what I consider a very easy grader on movies too. So for you to feel that way about it is wow.
Whoa.
I'm stunned. Oh, I guess we'll get into it in spoilers, but I thought it was okay. I don't maybe Mark will, and Paul, you're old like us. When I was younger, I used to go to the video store and peruse the movies, and there'd always be like weird, like direct to video movies, like Christopher Walken is Prophecy 7. So not like stuff that was like legitimately terrible, because me and my friends would always go and like dig deep for like really bad movies, but just like random shit like Pumpkinhead 3. Like these weird direct to video movies that you never quite heard of, but they seemed somewhat familiar. They were sequels to stuff like Hellraiser is in space.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like that movie. Like it felt like that kind of like blah. I'm 13. I'm bored. I'm gonna go sit in my mom's room and watch this shitty horror movie, and then 2 hours later, I'm not even gonna remember half of it.
Yep.
Legitimately felt like that. Is there anything you guys can bring up non-spoiler wise, or should we just jump into spoiling this movie?
Yeah, I think we can just spoil it from here.
All right, Mark, drop the drop. We're gonna spoil Child's Play.
Spoiler alert! I had seen the future, and I had to prevent it.
All right, let's go with things you liked to start. As much as I want to ask our guest to be polite, I got to go to Mark.
No, please do.
Mark, what did you like about this movie?
I really liked the performances.
It ended.
Yeah, credit. No, I liked the performances. I thought the main kid was really, really good. I thought, I thought Aubrey Plaza was hot. I love Brian Tyree Henry. He is one of my just favorite actors, and he was good giving the really shitty script that he had to work with.
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, he played a Detective Mike.
Oh, okay.
He's a Paperboy on Atlanta. If you watch Atlanta, and he was Miles Morales' dad in Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, okay.
He's one of my favorite actors. I love him. And yeah, Mark Hamill was awesome as the voice of Chucky. I thought he did a really good job. So the performances were good. And the first act of the movie, I was totally down with. I'm like, okay, I see where this is going. They're making fun of the situation. But eventually this is going to turn into like a psychological thriller. Like the first one, it's going to be like, you're going to feel the suspense. You're going to feel the tension. And then it turns into a comedy. Like it makes a sharp left turn right into Comedyville. And I'm like, oh, it's a comedy. Oh, okay. And then I just couldn't get into it. Not that there's something wrong with comedy. Having that shift and getting the jokes that they were throwing out, it was entertaining, but I couldn't connect to the characters at all. I couldn't connect to the story. And then once I was out of it, I just couldn't get back into it at all. I just got further and further out of it. But I did like the performances. I think that kid is amazing. I think he has a nice future in front of him. Gabriel Bateman is his name.
Okay. How about you, Paul? Give us some things you liked about the movie.
I kind of agree. I think Gabriel Bateman was pretty good as Andy, and that was an interesting decision to age him up because in the original film, he's like 6 years old. And in this film, he's 13, give or take. So it's almost like I said before, Black Mirror, Child's Play. There's also Stranger Things 4, Child's Play, which this film eventually becomes. So I see what you're saying there, Mark Ellis, where you talk about the change in tone, because that's the film's biggest problem. But we're talking about good things. And the best thing about this is a couple of the early kills. A couple of those deaths, we're talking spoilers, so I can say it.
Yeah.
Aubrey Plaza's or Karen's boyfriend, who is a complete and utter douche. His death is monstrously entertaining, and I thought if this is where this film is going and we're going to get 5 or 6 more of these kills like this and they're going to up the ante every time, this is going to be the best comedy horror movie in decades. Unfortunately, it shot its load very early and goes downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great kill. The creepy voyeur guy in the basement, the
Jack Black wannabe.
Yeah, Jack Black. What do they call it? The super. His death was pretty good as well. And then after that, like it just kind of like, but those kills were fantastic. I kind of liked the updating of the story in a way. Like it was good they separate themselves. Like in the original, it's Brad Dourif's guy, whatever his name is, Billy Ray. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Sorry, Ray Charles or something.
Ray Charles. Jamie Foxx was there?
Billy Ray Cyrus, yeah.
Billy Ray Charles. Shit, now I can't remember his name. That dude, the murderer, he just puts his spirit, so it's all supernatural. He puts his spirit through a voodoo ritual into a doll. In this one, they've gone, let's just do away with all that supernatural stuff and make it about faulty AI, where we take out a behavioral inhibitor chip. And Chucky, who just wants to love Andy and protect him against everything and impress him, becomes increasingly violent and then homicidal in that quest. I kind of dug that. And I think it had the potential in the last act to be really awesome with setting up all these characters in a store when the Buddy 2s are going to be dropped.
Yep.
But then it kind of really wimps out. So it could have been good, but wasn't. So I'm out of good things. Over to you, Joey.
Good things in the movie. All right. Aubrey Plaza is smoking hot.
Word.
But it also is, you got to have suspension of disbelief, because while I am perfectly able to believe that a robot doll comes to life murdering people, and that you can put somebody's disemboweled head in wrapping paper and leave it on someone's shelf for like 3 days and no one will notice or smell it, it's very hard for me to believe that Aubrey Plaza was single and having trouble finding dates. So
good things, Joey. Good things.
That's right. Good things. So yeah, she's hot. You guys are both right. I loved the main kid in the movie. I thought he did a really good job, especially, like you said, being older than the kid in the original movie. It gave them more things to play with, like his friends and like his social dynamics. Though it was weird that he like had a doll. You know what I mean? Like he was way too old for that.
But he didn't.
It wasn't just weird he had a doll. It was weird that the doll got him to have friends.
That's right. Because like, you know what? There's toys out now that are like high tech, like AI type things. Not like fucking Chucky, but they're like for younger kids. Like my son's not gonna fucking buy any of that and walk around with it, no matter how little friends he has. That's for babies. Like it's not gonna happen. My daughter's 16. She's not gonna pick up the Chucky doll and walk around outside. Like it's not gonna happen. So
definitely not.
There's a little bit of suspension of disbelief, but yeah, and you're right. Some of the kills were cool. There definitely were not enough of them, and now we're getting to things we don't like. So I did like Mark Hamill as Chucky, and I liked some of the shots where he was being creepy. So he's like in the background, or he's just there. Like I think there was one shot where he walks in and his mom's ordering pizza. Chucky's literally just sitting there.
Yeah,
and it was creepy as fuck. Like, oh god. Or when he was going to strangle the cat, that was like, yikes. But that was creepy too. So, but yeah, that was about it for good. Let's get into what you didn't like, Mark. We got to know, what didn't you like about this movie?
I think you actually hit the nail on the head. Suspension of disbelief. You really needed for this movie. And like right from the jump, I couldn't buy a world where this doll would have control over your appliances in a house. Like I can understand, we live in a world where technology, where you can connect everything and all of that stuff, but why would you put that information inside of a doll meant for kids? Why would
people
you give
do dumb shit though? People do very dumb stuff with that stuff.
Like, a lot of people have the Alexa box in their house where they talk to it and all that stuff, but would you put that type of technology inside of a toy meant for like a little kid? Would you just let your 5-year-old have your Alexa and just go outside and play with it? Come home and there's like all types of shit that he ordered online. I couldn't buy that at all. I couldn't buy that at all. I couldn't buy that this thing worked in a world. And again, the shift in tone, I just didn't like at all. I didn't like where the story was going. I did appreciate the E.T. references. Actually, I appreciated a lot of the references. I thought, him having a glowing finger and a kid wearing a red sweatshirt, I thought was funny, because I can see like what they were doing and where they were going. I liked when the dad falls off the roof and the kids are inside of the house with headphones and screens, and they're completely oblivious to it. But I couldn't wrap my head around, why are you taking down Christmas lights that are still plugged up at nighttime?
Yeah.
Why do you have a watermelon patch? I mean, you don't seem like a farmer to me at all. It just, the whole thing just, I couldn't get there. I just couldn't get there. But again, I did like the performances. I didn't like the, I just didn't like that complete shift in comedy tone towards the end of it. And all of them inside of that really shitty store at the end being attacked by teddy bears. Oh, God. At that point, I just want to leave.
All right. What about you, Paul? Give us some stuff you didn't like about the movie.
Yeah, I think it's all about tone for me. Like, it's a horror film. It's a horror film as a remake / reboot about a movie in which a serial killer soul inhabits a doll and then has to try to possess the kid who he first revealed himself to. So my suspension of disbelief wasn't as sorely tested, though the further into the film we went after the halfway point, there were some questionable decisions from everybody involved. And I know they're kids and they're 13 and 14 years old, but like, the answer was there the whole time. Your phone records everything fucking Chucky is doing. Mm-hmm. Just show your mum what that's recording. It's the answer's right there, and no one seemed to use it until it got to the very end of the film. By then, it was all too late. It did that, as Mark Ellis has said, did that turn from being a straight up thriller / horror to being sort of teen comedy, Stranger Things vibe, and then they kind of couldn't go through with it. And I know you said before, and I tend to agree, Joey, now as a parent myself, I don't particularly like children being put in harm's way in the way I might have used to. I thought it was funny when I was much younger. Now it's like, But when you put all these kids in an open store at the end in the final act of the film, the final scenes of the film, and kill almost none of them when a whole bunch of Chuckies, for some reason, by the way, because so our Chucky now can control all the Buddy 2.0s. Why? And when Chucky dies, what happens to all the Buddy 2.0s? That never gets addressed nor explained. Like, what's going on here? None of that's well enough put together. And the film's only 90 minutes long. As much as I hate to admit it, it almost feels like there wasn't enough time here, and they just threw shit at the wall in the last act of the film, hoping some of it would stick, and it really didn't hold up at all to any kind of serious consideration.
I think they recalled all of the Buddy 2s, I think, for to research. But the Buddy...
he did say that, but even in that scene, so he somehow makes them red-eyed, self-aware, and somehow lends to them his murderous tendencies in a minute, which is completely against what Chucky has gone through himself, because it's all about his connection to Andy and being obsessed with him. That's how he becomes murderous. And from what he watches with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 on the TV, these dolls just wake up and their eyes go red and they start trying to kill people. I'm like, what?
And it also goes against what we saw at the very beginning of the movie, where that guy had to remove the chip physically and go in and recode it.
Yep. So it's like they just wanted to have their big, huge, grandiose finale, but then they weren't prepared to sort of double down on it and kill any kids or really kill too many other people. I mean, the drone killed more people than anybody else did in that particular scene, and that was all very lame by comparison to especially the first two kills of the film.
Joey, what about you?
All right. So right off the bat, I hated the fact that Chucky is a AI toy and not a serial killer, not a serial killer put into a doll's body. And I know that seems stupid because it is, but
fair enough. It's different.
But if you watch the first Child's Play, not the sequels where it starts getting goofier and goofier, but the first one is a really good horror movie, and you have that lurking the whole time that this toy isn't right. There's some, the person inhabiting the toy is bad, is evil, and is going to try to hurt these people. Whereas this movie tried to make Chucky sympathetic.
Yeah.
I hated that. Like, I don't want to feel bad for Chucky. And he kept swinging back and forth. Like, am I supposed to feel bad for him? Am I supposed to be scared of him? Am I supposed to be cheering for him? Am I supposed to be cheering for them to kill him? Like, if you really watch the movie, it's not really his fault. He had no freaking idea. He's standing in the room watching them watch a horror movie. They were laughing, so he thinks that was what would make them happy, was killing people. Yep. And it just kind of snowballed from there. It wasn't that he was actually evil, which is stupid because it's fucking Child's Play. So I really, really hated that. There were not enough kills, and the ones they had were okay. Like the guy getting killed outside his house with the Christmas lights, like you guys said, it's kind of like, why is it's a lot of stuff happening just to have that kill happen?
Yep.
Which is fine. But then like when he killed the mom in the car, like that was lame.
Yeah, that was really lame. Yeah, I agree.
I didn't think that was scary at all. It's fucking stupid. I guess the superintendent guy was all right, but like same thing too. It was a lot of time spent on him terrorizing that guy when we don't give a shit about that guy. Why are we not seeing him stalking or terrorizing the main character or even those other teenagers that we would actually care about seeing him bothering, as opposed to this fat guy that we already don't like because he's a creep? So again, are we supposed to be cheering for Chucky or are we not cheering for him? Is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? We don't know. So it was really frustrating. That was really annoying. And, this thing with the head was stupid.
Very stupid.
And then, like you guys said, like just dumb decisions by the characters. Okay, so let's say you do believe that this doll is a murdering, awful thing. So you just close it in the closet and leave for the rest of the day?
Yeah.
So anybody else can just go in and out of the house and get murdered by it? And you don't give a shit?
I know. I think once the cat disappeared for like a few days, like I would imagine like Aubrey Plaza comes home and she's like, oh man, this cat has been gone for days. There's broken glass all over the floor. The door's been broken because Chucky like escaped from the closet in that one scene. And she just goes about like, oh, it's just my kid just being crazy, just having a tough time adjusting to the new apartment. And I feel like there should have been some point where, the kid was like, all right, mom, this is what's happening. This doll is crazy. And I said it before, but I really, really mean it. And I couldn't latch on to them just being so, nonchalant about it. I hated it.
I also don't need to see like animals being assaulted. Like you could do that off camera and you just have him walk towards it and hear meow, meow, meow. I don't need to see him like legitimately strangling the cat. It's a little much for me. It's a little much. And I'm not even a cat person, but that was a little much. I didn't have a problem seeing the superintendent guy get his arms chopped off by a buzzsaw, but him choking a cat, that was a little much for me. So
can't argue. That's fair. That's exactly the point, that this film feels like what it was, an attempt to keep the rights alive with a lot of weird decisions behind it. And it's okay, but it seems strange to have made a cinematic release for, it had a budget of $10 million. I guess if they had to send it to the cinemas to have any hope of recouping its costs, but I don't know. I can't see this being a success, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I'm pretty sure they did leave the door wide open for a sequel. So
did they? Where was the sequel hook?
The Chucky in the box at the end with the red eyes.
Oh, yeah, right, that's right. But like, how did that happen?
Again, suspension of disbelief.
Well, because he was an old model, so they weren't releasing those anymore, and he was only. Never mind. He was only evil because that guy in the factory at the beginning of the movie messed with him. He wasn't supernaturally evil where he could jump to different dolls.
Yeah. I mean, there is a theory that, the doll that Andy was going to attack towards the end, the one that like the bait and switch one, there was one doll that he was like kind of talking to and he thought was Chucky, but then Chucky was really like behind him.
Yeah.
That the doll that was behind him was actually one of the programmed ones, like the bears, and then the doll that didn't do anything was actually a real Chucky. So
you're
Chucky
reading way too much, and you're putting way more effort into this than the screenwriters did.
I'm just saying that's kind of one of the ways they could have left it open. But like I said, I checked out way before that.
All right.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. It is, and I'm kind of, a part of me is glad. I wasn't sure when you go middle ground on a film, you're never sure whether you'd have a strong opinion one way or the other. And to be honest, if it wasn't a horror film, I probably would be pretty dark on this because the internal logic of the film is pretty poor. The characters are pretty dumb, but horror always gets a little bit of a boost in my ratings. I have to admit, I'm so prone to the genre.
Yeah, I realize that horror movies are pretty much designed to. They have a purpose. They're supposed to scare you. Supposed to, give you that suspense and make you jump, give you the scares, and give you laughs. Apparently through the from the scene from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you're supposed to laugh. You're supposed to watch horror movies and laugh at them. So character and story and plot, that kind of takes a backseat to what the movie's goals are. And just sitting there watching it, I don't care about that stuff. I want a character. I want plot. I want it to make sense to me. And a guy taking down Christmas lights in the middle of the night, or at least late at night in the dark with them still being plugged up. I'm like, why are you doing that? I'm out.
Why was the kid deaf?
So Chucky can talk to him and only he can hear him. He can get inside of his head more. So to speak.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, because I'm glad you explained that because I was just like, oh, they made a big deal about him being deaf and it was like Chekhov's gun. I'm like, okay, something's going to come back about this hearing aid or something, and it never really mattered.
Yeah, there's that scene where he, the hearing aid falls out and his mother goes, "Where's your hearing aid?" And he looks around for it and like, oh, he heard her.
Yeah. Was that store supposed to be big or small or?
It doesn't make sense. You can't put logic to this movie. You just have to kick back and enjoy it. The theater that I saw it in, they did laugh a few times, and they somewhat enjoyed it. I was not there.
All right. What else can we possibly say about this, Mark?
If there is a sequel, I want Aubrey Plaza and Detective Mike to hook up. I just want that. That's all I want. That's the only reason I want a sequel.
What happened to his dad?
He's going to come back in a sequel.
No. The little kids.
And Andy's dead.
Yeah. They don't say. They don't say.
Never mentioned.
They didn't say he died, but there's still pictures of him around the house. So he didn't cheat on her with someone else. I don't think.
But she also said she had him when he was 16. When she was 16, she made it out to sound like it was like an accident teenage pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
But then she was also married to a husband who tragically left.
It will all be explained in the Child's Play cinematic universe.
Electric Boogaloo.
That's right. Chucky will return, and
it'll be called Child's Play : Child's Play.
Play of children.
That's right. Two childs, two play. What did you guys think of Mark Hamill's voice acting, Paul?
It was okay. Doing this tonight, I went and watched the original again to sort of give a comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I thought Brad Dourif's take on it was more memorable, but maybe that's because I've had 30 years to have that voice echoing through my head and some 6 sequels. And whereas Mark Hamill's AI voice was, he was constrained by that. And I guess in some ways it's good that he didn't try and just emulate / surpass Brad Dourif.
How about you, Paul? Sorry, how about you, Mark?
I liked his voice. I like Mark Hamill a lot. I did like when Andy tried to name the kid Han Solo. I thought that was kind of cool. They're like, hey, a little Star Wars reference. One of the things that I really couldn't get into was the design of Chucky. What did you guys think of his face? It doesn't look like the original Child's Play. You can see how that could be a toy marketed to kids and kids would want to buy that. I couldn't imagine a world where this new Chucky would sit in anyone's house. I couldn't imagine any kid wanting that. What did you guys think of the design of it?
Joey?
I didn't like it because it was CG versus the original, which is practical, I would assume, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It was 1986, so of course it was. But I will say that it had that weird uncanny valley effect where every time he's on screen, you're looking at him, you're like, man, there's just something not fucking right.
Yeah.
About that doll. So it really worked well in a lot of the scenes where he would just be standing there staring at Andy, whether it was when he was sleeping or just standing off in the corner creepily staring. So I thought that worked well, but overall it wasn't great. And maybe with a better budget, it would have looked better. So I wish they had gone practical, to be honest with you.
What about you, Paul?
Yeah, look, I 100% agree. I think it was weirder looking and in some ways creepier, but there is no way in hell the face, and it had more facial movements and whatever else, as I guess with the CG and the like than the 1988 version did. But there is no way in hell that toy gets marketed en masse to the world the way that it looks. It's just impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't matter how many gadgets come with it. If it looks like it's going to stab you in your sleep, no one's buying it. And that's exactly what that thing looked like.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
What did you think of the teddy bears that came for version 2.0? I think those were even equally terrifying.
Even worse, arguably, because, I don't know, just they were horrible. And the thing that amused me about the original, again, watching it last night, was they're raving about the fact it has 3 things it can say. I'm your friend to the end. Everyone's like, this is the most amazing shit I've ever seen. So they really went hardcore in upgrading that aspect of it in this one, but doesn't change the fact that this is still an ugly ass toy and no one would buy it ever.
Yep.
I thought that was supposed to be a werewolf and it was a teddy bear. Yeah, so I guess we didn't like it more than we liked it. So I guess we'll have to go around wrapping it up and give this a score out of 5. Let's go with our guest, Paul, out of 5. 0 being the worst and 5 being the best.
Right down the middle for me. There was enough here for me to enjoy or at least have some fun in the cinema. I wasn't hating it. I checked my time only to check how long it took between kills, whereas I wasn't bored. So in the end, given that I do love my horror films, I'm going to give this a 2.5 star, which is lower than what I gave the original 1988 version.
Wow. Mark Ellis.
Yeah, if it didn't have Aubrey Plaza and Brian Tyree Henry and a good performance by the kid, this would be a straight 0. But because of those things, I'm going to give it
Hellboy.
Yeah. Definitely. God, I've already said it, but because of those things and because I can see that there was some They had some ideas. I just don't think they executed them well. I give it a 1.5 out of 5.
Ooh, damn.
Yeah, like seriously, 3/4 of the way through the movie, I'm like, this is the worst movie I've seen so far this year, and I kind of want to leave.
No, it's not worse than Glass.
It's true.
Though you probably wish somebody drowned you in a puddle halfway through the movie.
Yeah, I was kind of envious of the cat towards the end of it.
That's how you felt. You're getting choked. All right, so so there's 2 levels to this. Just as a movie that I went to go see, it wasn't great. I was going to give it a 1.25 out of 5. I will bump it up to a 1.5 because Aubrey Plaza is smoking hot. But
wow.
But I will say that if, like what I said before, you have that kind of nostalgic twinge for watching kind of shitty horror movies that are not quite as good as what they were originally based on, like, you know, or even direct-to-video action movies. Like there's I think 25 sequels to Universal Soldier at this point, you know. Mm-hmm. It just reminds me of that. So I have that little bit of nostalgic twinge about it for that. So if you're in that mindset, it's not terrible. If you're trying to sit down and actually watch this as a movie, it's pretty fucking bad. So I gave it a 1.5 out of 5.
Just not often I'm the kindest on any podcast I'm on. So fair enough.
Definitely not as bad as Hellboy. I don't know what Mark's talking about. So.
I could see, but Hellboy put its Ward's heart on its sleeve right from the very beginning. This is the type of movie that we are. We're going to try and do this, and we failed, but at least you knew what you were getting into from the jump. Child's Play tried to have his cake and eat it too, and I didn't want any of that cake at all.
Thought you were my best friend, Mark.
I'm your friend to the end.
That's right. Excellent. So that is going to do it for our review of Child's Play. Let's wrap up this episode of the podcast. We got some recommendations for the listeners, and we'll let Paul plug the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews podcast. Paul, tell us where we can find your podcast and let the listeners know anything cool they should be checking out.
Please search for the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews. We're on pretty much every platform. You can hit us up on Twitter at the Countdown PC. We're on Podbean like the So Wizarders are. So if you've got the app, you can search for us there as well. And yeah, nothing more special than that other than we release, as Joey said a little earlier, we have our countdown on a Tuesday, sort of early Tuesday morning American time, and on late sort of Friday evening, we release our main review of the week. So a couple of episodes shorter in length, but we have a lot of fun doing it. So please check us out.
What are you guys reviewing this week?
What's come out this Saturday, it's going to be, well, we've got an advanced screen to Far From Home. So whether we race home and then record our thoughts on it and release that that second to make the deadline, or whether we hold it over for a week, let everyone see it, and then, so we're not sure, either that or it will be Child's Play, but Wayne's not seen Child's Play, so I've got a guest on for it.
Excellent. Mark Ellis, what do you got for the listeners this week?
Yeah, there's a documentary on Amazon called Life After Flash. It's all about Sam J. Jones, the guy that played Flash Gordon in the hit 1980 movie Flash Gordon. It's a pretty low-budget documentary, but they're able to get some really good interviews with a lot of people, pretty much talking about his life pretty much after the Flash Gordon movie, what he kind of did to sabotage his career a little bit, and his kind of redemption of getting back into it. Sam J. Jones he's a really cool guy. It really opened up my eyes to what he went through in the 80s. And if for some reason Sam J. Jones was on a rocket ship that went to another planet, I have no doubt in my mind that he would save the entire universe. But it's a documentary called Life After Flash. It's on Amazon, and it's fantastic.
Awesome. Well, I will suggest that you go to SoWizardPodcast.com, where you can find the podcast every week, links to all our social media accounts on the right-hand side of the page, movie reviews, streaming picks, so much more. SoWizardPodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podcoin, just about anywhere under the sun you find podcasts. We'll be there. Check out our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, search So Wizard Podcast. You'll find weekly exclusive content there. Adam has videos every week, at least twice a week. Adam just put one up talking about all the different streaming services that are popping up here and there. And it's pretty interesting stuff. quick, easy watch. Check it out. Don't forget our Patreon page, patreon.com/SoWizardPodcast. Support the show monetarily. Get extra episodes of the podcast. This month we did a Nerd Marry Fuck Kill episode, which is quite awkward and funny. And there's also exclusive movie reviews on there, like Bohemian Rhapsody, Bumblebee. And coming next month, we're going to do a retro review of The Dark Crystal because none of us have seen it. And there's a sequel series coming out on Netflix. I know, I've never seen it. It's crazy, right?
You know what you say when none of you have seen The Dark Crystal?
You just made the list!
Excellent. Shout out to all the Geek World All-Stars and the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. More coming soon. We just launched the Facebook page. Check us out on social media and get involved. I watched a movie on Netflix called I Am Mother. It is a story about Jennifer Lawrence being in a terrible movie and becoming a robot.
Mother, small M, exclamation point.
Right, I am
God.
Mother. No, it's not. It's a post-apocalyptic movie. A robot is trying to protect this girl from a really ugly chick named Hilary Swank that shows up.
Jesus.
I would hide underground too if there were horse-faced people all running around up top. But no, it was good. It was good, especially for a Netflix movie. You know, you're on a grading on a curve because I didn't have to get off the couch. So, you know, I would say check it out. It's pretty cool. But other than that, that is going to do it. We got to send a special shout out to Paul. Thank you so much for coming on the show this week. We love you and your podcast. So feel free to tune in every week and hear us tongue bathing your balls because we love your show. And
thank you so much. And likewise, absolutely reciprocated. Enjoy the shit out of So Wizard and got to listen for life. Keep putting it out there. Thank you so much, guys.
You got it. So that's going to do it for episode number 255 in a row of the So Wizard podcast. I've been your host, Joey DiCarlo. My co-hosts have been Paul from the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews podcast.
This is the end, friend.
And the expert, Mr. Marquis Marcellus Reagans.
Shout out to Wayne. Shout out to Aubrey. This is for Tupac. Fuck you, Chucky. Wakanda forever.
We'll see you next week. This one's for Biggie. Good journey.